What is up, YouTube? I thought I'd mix it up a little bit, and I thought I'd speak at the start of these videos now, given that I'm literally recording these. Today is the 1st of February, Saturday, at 6:20. Yeah, in today's episode, I was stood here earlier in the week and I was talking about tools. Now, I'm not gonna lie, and I'm gonna straight up apologise. It's really hard, so please, I'm asking you guys, there is no wrong answers. Voice your opinions, get involved in the comments. I struggled to kind of focus and pick a basic DIY toolkit, and I started talking about safety, which is the most important thing, I think. The most important thing that I'm trying to talk about with my tools and being a DIYer and learning DIY and sort of having a go at stuff is please make sure you're safe. I am the worst example for safety, and I promise you in other videos that I recorded and lost, I was making a better point of safety. So I wanted to make a good point in today's video about safety. So I talk a lot about safety, in all honesty, guys, but please, I'm gonna say it again, get involved in the comments, guys, and let me know the kind of tools you think are important that you want to learn about using as a DIYer. And if there's some cool tools and some projects that you want me to do, comment and ask away. So I've got, and I keep saying this, it's gonna happen this week, a loft hatch with a loft ladder. And I'm not just gonna do a loft hatch with a loft ladder, I'm going to move the loft hatch, I'm gonna trim out joists, and then that's gonna create another video which is gonna be patching in the loft. So that is gonna be coming up. And as of tomorrow is Sunday, me and Michael, AKA Mitchell, who've done the ending on the video the other week, he has got a job for me. I won't say where, because it's giving away too much information. Yeah, me and Mitchell are gonna go do a job for a family friend of his, yeah, tomorrow. And I'm going in blind, so stay tuned for that. All I know is there's a leak in the bathroom. Be prepared for anything. So if you want to see that video, click subscribe, smash the like button, get involved in the comments, and please, honestly, humbly, I'm grateful, voice your opinions, guys. I love, and everyone that's part of this channel will tell you I will reply and respond to every single comment, and I read every single comment, and they fuel me. I love seeing you guys get involved in the comments. So yeah, so then guys, I'm mixing it up today. I'm about to start recording a different video, but I thought I'd talk to you about a video I'd previously done while starting the next video, so you've got a sneak peek of what's coming up next. But enough of this video, and let's get back to the video at hand, where I'm talking about safety and what DIYers should be investing in and looking at buying if they want to start doing DIY. See you in the next video, guys. Bye-bye. Hello and welcome, YouTube, to every DIYer's toolkit, every lady's toolkit, every man's toolkit. This video tailors everyone. This video is for you. Let's get set up. Hope you enjoy this camera slider shot. We'll see you in the next one. So then guys, in today's video, because I've lost all of my toolkit, because I've lost all of my content, I'm gonna make a video, whether you're male, female, like I say, flat pack queen or a DIY king, this is gonna be the basic kind of toolkit I think you should have. Then I'm gonna go to some gimmicky things, some like one-off things that are probably gonna help you become more like a tradie, but they're only gonna be specific to that one task that you might do once in a blue moon. But first of all, the first thing is safety, and you always need to start your day right. Or if you're like me, starting with safety is the first thing you should start with. So whether it's just some basic safety specs or some cool ones like Mark Nolan, safety first. So with your basic toolkit, whether that be just your typical pencil, or I really like these clicky pencils, and then you take these are called tracers, but this is an Amazon special because they're far cheaper and they're just the same quality. Then you just sharpen your lead, and then you just constantly click every time you want more. And then when you want to put it away, click and hold, And with these extendable ones, these we can poke through holes. So like DIYers, if you're hanging a picture or you're trying to put a TV bracket, be very gentle because it is only lead, but you could, you know, you could move that through that hole and achieve that. And tapes. Let me give you some context on tapes. Ladies, get involved in the comments because you'll be able to tell your man that bigger is not always better. Sometimes, you see, I quite like this little Stanley 3 meter purely because small objects make other small objects appear bigger. So when you pick a tape, I quite like these Stanley ones, and the difference between a good quality tape and a bad quality tape and a good person behind the tape has always got a good standoff. There we go, 2 meters, 630. I'm sure there's plenty of tape. There's tapes out there on a Stanley Fat Max that'll do like 20 meters outstand. But you see, using that, right, and understanding like when you put it down on the floor, being able to measure like that, or simply getting hold of your tape and being able to hold it and manipulate it like this, and go like that, are some good DIY tricks that you should learn. Instead of having to be like, oh, I need to clip that there and then pulling out, do that, kink your tape, and with your other hand, hold that like that, and you could start that there, and then you could push and pull. Little tricks like that will make DIYers' lives so much easier. Or DIY kings or DIY queens, comment below who you are watching this. I like to understand who's my audience, and then I can tailor my videos to you guys. So get involved in the comments. If you think I've missed something that's very important that I should have included in this video, you can absolutely voice your opinion on this channel and I will listen, because I'm here to learn as much as I'm here to try and teach you guys. And if that sounds like something you like, then pretty please smash the like button, consider subscribing and ring the little bell so you stay tuned every time I go live and uploads on Monday, Wednesday and Friday. And once we've got a pencil and a tape, we can start marking things and we can start setting them out. So once you've then set something out, say you want to cut it, I like this Milwaukee flick knife, and it doesn't obviously flick, it's just I'm able to do that with got good wrist action, years of practice. And they're very simple to change the blade. Personally, from a carpenter's perspective, that is very handy for when I'm marking doors, or if I then wanted to go and do some plasterboard, I want to quickly change to a dirty side of the blade or a clean, sharp side of the blade. So a good quality Stanley with a sharp blade is safer than poor quality and a blunt blade, because a blunt blade, you're going to put more force and pressure into using it and you're going to hurt yourself. And always keep your hands behind, never and go towards yourself or start doing that, because you will and then it'll be Windows logging off before you know it. Accidents happen when you least expect them. Then for setting out, DIYers should probably have some sort of square. Now it doesn't matter whether it's a roofing sort of square where you hook it on timber like that, an engineer's square. There was another big 24-inch roofing square that I was going to show you guys. So that, as a DIYer, being able to measure, mark up and set out stuff neatly is very handy. Another thing I think that DIYers will be getting onto is putting up shelves. So if you're putting up shelves, I highly recommend things like this for plasterboard. Why do I recommend these? Because guys, these are metal. So they go into like the plasterboard, they don't break as they're going in, they don't manipulate. And if you wanted to use them again, you just using the Phillips, you just wind them in. And if you want to use them again, you just wind them out. Whereas the plastic ones, they serve their job, but they're not as good. You know, these claim to be rated to, don't quote me on this quite, but I think 32 kilos. But let me give you context. That 32 kilos is shear force. So once that's in the wall there, that is 32 kilos pulling at the closest point to the wall downwards. That is not 32 kilos out here on a shelf. That is not 32 kilos in the ceiling pulling down. Because at that point, if you're pulling down, you're reliant on the plasterboard that you've fixed into. Another thing for safety with DIYers, I would recommend a plug tester to make sure that you've wired it correctly. But firstly, a volt stick, a volt pen. Electricians are going to hammer me and call this something fancy. Volt alert. It detects voltage, yeah? As long as you can detect voltage with like some sort of wand and not a probe, a wand sort of thing, so you're not getting near the electric and you're safe to start with before you touch it. and always isolate things. But if you're not confident, listen to me. If you're not confident, 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 call an electrician. I encourage safety, but I do not promote your ego like an overcompetent builder doing electrics in a kitchen. You can check out that video. I am not AM2 qualified. I'm not an electrician. But looking at some of my toolkit, I'm more than qualified to talk to you about electrics. Next bit of safety. Yes, no. Yes, no. Charlie, what's the difference? Sorry, I sound like I'm having a go here, but I'm trying to alliterate safety. Right, this is insulated all the way up here. And yeah, if there was current, you would be protected, but not necessarily safe. Protected. You could still touch something, you could still hurt yourself. But this protects your hands whilst you're holding this. If you touch something else, you're not protected. This is not a magic, I'm going to survive when I touch a conductor of 1,000 volts and 100 amps. This will not protect you. Your rubber sole trainers will not protect you. And this is just dangerous. If you start poking around with something like this, trying to wire up a socket with this, and your hand slips off and your finger just touches there and there is something live, you're going to get a belt and you will know about it. Safety, safety, safety. What else can we talk about safety? So we protect your eyes. Ear defenders, if you're doing something really loud, whether they're these little foam mushroom things or whether they're full-on over-the-ear cups, ear defenders are important.
Say it again.
Ear defenders are important. Protect your feet. Wear some trousers if you're doing something outdoors, if you're digging with a shovel, using a Kango. Safety first. Right, so now we've got the safety done with. Let's start thinking about working safely. So another thing I would really recommend, and I haven't got mine in here because they're a bit big and bulky, but would be either a hop-up, not ladders. I'll tell you why. A hop-up is safer than ladders. You're here and you've got the light bulb there and you've got another one there. If you're here and you're doing that and you fall, you can jump towards the kitchen work surface, towards the dining room table, towards the sofa, towards a wall. You can jump, you can move. If your feet are in a ladder and you go there, Windows is logging off. You're going to fall, you're going to hurt yourself. It is not safe to work off ladders. They shouldn't exist in today's world. I deliberately only own 3-tier, or 4-tier to the top, 4-step ladders because I own tower scaffold. And tower scaffold is what I should be working off if I'm working at height. But a hop-up. And with the hop-up, you can perhaps lay your work on this. Now be careful not to put your saw blade through it and stuff like that. And consider, you can get cheap slidey G-clamps, or you can get the fancy Irwin things where they pump and they grip really well. And if you needed to, you could take that off that end and they would go like that and they can spread as well as they can clamp. Really, really, really handy bits of kit. And they have this tilty head. So like if something's not quite flat, really you want to be clamping upside down like that so that you've got minimal in the way of what you're cutting. But yeah, you want to be able to clamp your piece of material, your wood, whatever you're working on, down safely. Next thing for a DIYer's toolkit is going to be stuff like saws. Now, I haven't got the other one with me. Actually, I have. I recommend 2 saws because they will last far longer. Now, obviously on day one, that means you're going to have to buy 2 good ones. But what happens in tradie world is we have a good one and we have a bad one. The bad one does all the rough timber, the nails, the under doorways, scraping along concrete floors, Celotex, plasterboard. And our good one is used for our refined work where we need to be really careful on that door lining, or we need a neat cut on that skirting to butt joint it, or you get the gist. Neat and refined, and we have a rough saw. So if you're going into something where you're unsure, rough saw. Not really safety, but this will help you. Have a tray that organises your bits. Now, don't clutter it up and have screws of all sorts. Well, in all fairness, who am I to talk? You can organise it how you want. But if you do stuff like this and have brown plugs, red plugs, this size, that size, left shoe, right shoe, and you keep things tidy and organised, in my world, in my head, things are just neater and tidier. So get yourself like a screw tray for all your different DIY bits. So now, as a DIYer, you want to start thinking about keeping things level. So like Stabila do really good levels out the box. DIYers, this is going to sound crazy to you, but there are levels out there that you can buy in the shop that are nowhere near as refined as some of the levels that tradies use. That is obviously reflected upon the price and the quality of the work at the end of the day. So, but I'm just saying Stabila all round, they're a little bit more money, and these are like box section ones. This is like obviously a tradies version because this is like 50mm by 30mm or something. whereas a DIYer's one would probably be 20mm by like 30mm, so it'd probably only be like the yay high and just a little bit thinner. Makes no odds, but for tradies, especially carpenters, when it comes to the bigger levels, we want to be able to, perhaps if something's out, we would want to be able to put it on the bottom mark and on the top mark and push against it to then like see if we can move our door linings. That is where a strong Stabila R line, so you would look at it and it literally spell an R. Stabila R line are amazing. Ergonomic grip, brilliant for pushing against door linings. And I explained in my stud work, here is a little tip with levels. This level is probably 8 years old and I have done that with it as an apprentice more times than I've had a monster. So when you put this level on somewhere, I put it against it, and what I do is I flip my level. And that can work that way, as well as like 180 in it that way. And as all I do is if my level reads like that, if my level reads like that, then when I flip it the other way, I make sure it reads like that, so that it's symmetrical. And by it being mirror image symmetrical, I know that even though that bubble is out and that level is bent, because it's symmetrical, I know it's equal. Does that make sense? Comment below if that doesn't make sense. And if you haven't done already, consider smashing the like button and subscribe for more. Uploads on Monday, Wednesday and Friday nights, maybe Saturdays. We'll find out tonight when I go live, whether it's going to be Fridays or Saturdays. I'm going to try and do a Q&A and go live every week this year. So that's levels covered. So now we're safe, we know how to mark, we know how to level, we're clamping down, we're working at height safely. We are quite safe. So now let's move up. Have we covered everything? I think we've covered everything. So now you've gone from you're 19, you're a first time DIY, maybe you're 30 and you're a first time DIY, you've just bought your first house. We've covered like being safe as a DIYer. So where do we go next? Working safely. I would suggest a little light. If you've got to work somewhere, a little light, a little magnetic thing under a kitchen sink or in a cupboard. Having a little light is brilliant. It's really handy. So moving up to say tier 2 now, you're starting to get a bit more advanced. I would really recommend, doesn't have to be cordless, it doesn't have to be a battery one, doesn't have to be quick release. There are Amazon cheapos, but listen guys and girls, consider the wattage. So the wattage in electricity world basically equals power. There's obviously volts and watts make amps and all sorts of different things. But if you see like a grinder and it's 300 watts or a circular saw and it's 300 watts, chances are you're going to go into something really tough and strong with a blunt blade and it's just going to go, ugh. Whereas if you buy something that's 1,000 watts, it's going to be really strong and it's probably going to be a bit more pricey because it's got a strong motor. But it will serve purpose and it will last you a lot longer than a cheap one. Consider that. I'm not saying you have to buy expensive, I'm just saying consider your task and consider whether you want a strong electric motor or a strong tool, or whether you can get by with smaller, cheaper versions. Because there is nothing wrong with smaller, cheaper versions. They all serve their purpose. I'm a tradie and this is my life. So yeah, multi-tool is a really handy thing. So this just, I'll turn it on briefly. Really loud, so you want ear protection. The lens is probably not going to focus on this. The teeth are one way. So learn what way the teeth are cutting, and being gentle with one is far more better than pushing it, because that only moves back and forth very slightly. If you're aggressive and you push hard, all you do is then drive that to stand still, and then this point here moves, and then the tool vibrates. So, whereas if you're very, very gentle with it, yeah, it'll take you a little bit longer, but it will cut so much nicer. And listen for changes in sound, because when this suddenly goes and changes sound, chances are it's probably hit a screw or a nail and you've got something in your stud work there. And if it goes bang and there's a big white flash, it was nice knowing you've just hit a cable. These are, look for, well, this is not powered into the mains, so this is not, I don't think this is double insulated. But if you buy a tool that is double insulated, I'll insert the little symbol that shows that the tool's double insulated. It's basically a square inside a square, but I'll insert that clip. A multi-tool is a really handy tool because it's multi. You could do so, you want multiple purposes. But now if you're getting a bit more advanced and you like doing like skirting and laying your own flooring, for laying your own flooring, I've just seen this down here in my bag, a non-marking hammer is going to be brilliant. I would really recommend that. If you're doing skirting, then you want to learn to scribe, you're going to need a coping saw and some kind of little block plane so that you can refine your cuts and fine tune if the skirting's laying over or tipping in. DIYs on tier 2, some coloured Allen keys so that the apprentice can understand it, whether you're talking to your son or your neighbour who's helping you out. Coloured Allen keys. If you can memorise what colour you want, then that can potentially help out apprentices, and colour coordination is perhaps more helpful to some others. I've got ADHD, so along with many other things, no doubt, getting me to focus sometimes when I'm not interested is like talking to a brick wall. It's just not going to happen. It doesn't matter what you're trying to aim for, it's just not going to happen if I don't want to listen. Clearing up after yourselves. A good hoover. Don't go and ruin your missus's hoover. Don't go and use your cordless shark. Good hoover for clearing up. 100 to 140 pound Henrys can't be beaten. You don't need a 700 pound Festal. A Henry Hoover is brilliant for clearing up, and you could just use a brush to sweep stuff up behind you or get a proper brush. But then if you've stained something or you're doing silicone in or there's something a little bit messy and you need your hands and not gloves, but you don't want to get dirty, these wipes and this spray are amazing. I'll repeat, amazing. I've got so much stuff over my silicone gun, it's unreal. So I just mentioned there, another good thing to have, guys, as a DIY, you can get these on Amazon, but a good silicone gun, famous last words, you can rotate. So I can hold that wherever I want, and I can turn that, which in turn turns where my head is, where I want to get in at an angle. That is a good silicone gun, and they often come with this. So if you have like a bit of paper in the top of your tube, you go flick with your knife, and then you go to pierce it, and then rather than wasting a screw and dipping a screw in it. These kind of mastic guns, cork guns, silicone guns are elite. Let's go back to cutting. So a tier 2 tool would be like a skill saw, and depending on what you're doing, you need to start understanding blades. I'm going a bit in depth there, aren't I? A skill saw is going to be really handy, whether it's 240, 110 or cordless. If you've got the money, cordless are amazing, but just bear in mind you might be slower with a cordless than a 240 because you can't use the same power, and if you've only got the one battery or the two, you're going to forever be swapping batteries. People for years from like the 70s and 80s that have taught me, and I'm blessed to have learned by them, hammered me in the 10s when I was buying cordless gear. Hammered me. That ain't going to be any good. What are you doing with that? And lo and behold, by the time they've walked their 110 transformer and leads, I've done the job, packed my tools up and put my batteries away. So with that, I have I had like 12 batteries. I think I've only got like 8 now. But yeah, if you've got enough batteries, then the fact that the batteries don't last is not an issue, is it? But I'm not saying go out and buy a load of batteries just for one tool. You need to pick like DeWalt, Makita, Festal, Milwaukee, Ryobi, whatever you choose to go with and what you set your heart on. That's up to you. I'm not here to tell you that. I can tell you though, factually, Makita offer a crazy amount of wide variety of tools. Probably stuff like, so this is obviously not Makita exclusive, but I have a little button there, and that little button just changes the modes. So I don't recommend it, but tradies that know what they're doing when we fit kitchens, we can be so much more refined with one of these when it changes speed. You guys as DIYers do not need to be paying £200 for one of these, unless you want to. I'm not here to tell you what to do. Diamond stones, honing stones, being able to sharpen tools is far more important than you going out and buying a sharp tool to start with, or even trying to understand what sharp tools are. And I won't lie to you, I will be honest, there is not many chisels out there you can buy today that are decent. A lot of them are made with cheap metals, where when they become hot, they become soft, which then means when you go into hardwood, they become blunt very, very easily. If you guys want to see a video on like sharpening tools, I'll try and do a video on that. Right then guys, this is just filmed all off this Action 5 Pro, but here we go, here's some BTS behind the scenes with today's video on the DIY's basic toolkit and like toolkits in general. So yeah, I'm going to try and break it down into chapters, and yeah, it's going to be what it's going to be. And first things first, I need to clear this place up. So let's bang you on a time lapse. We'll see you in the next one.